Welcome to the Spirits Operator podcast. I'm your host, Mary B. Here we navigate the ethereal currents between the mystical and the mundane. Join us as we embark on a journey to unravel the mysteries of healing, metaphysics, and the extraordinary, guiding you through a realm where spirituality meets everyday life. Get ready to explore the unseen forces that shape our world and discover how to harness their power for personal growth and transformation. Welcome aboard, fellow travelers, as we embark on this captivating adventure together. Hello, and welcome to the Spirits Operator podcast. I'm Mary B., your host. And, for those tuning into our podcast regularly, you'll recognize this month's theme as part of the series, The Many Waves of Healing, where we explore different techniques for expanding consciousness and fostering personal healing. So today we're staying the course and delving deeper into this subject. So I am so excited. Please welcome our guest, Nicole Chasson, a level 2 quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, Reiki master, and psychic medium. Nicole embarked on her latest spiritual awakening journey in 2016, spurred by a significant life hurdle. This prompted her to delve into various modalities, satisfying her deep curiosity about spirituality. Lately, she's been immersing herself in the study and the practice of Blue Ray of God's Will alongside the Blue Light beings and other ascended masters. Well, in April of the previous year, she made the bold decision to resign from her conventional job and devote herself entirely to her spiritual business endeavors. So I'm so excited, Nicole. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited too. It's fun to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Now, I wanted to ask you some questions because we need to have our listeners get to know you a bit. So now, how have you been enjoying yourself this last year since retirement? What have you been up to?
Well, it's mostly been enjoyable, I have to say, but there's a little part that was a little difficult. First, the end of 2023, I found myself in the midst of some major shadow work that I wasn't expecting, and it's just it was rough. Suddenly, childhood memories and traumas were coming up like just left and right, boom, 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 getting me, mind racing. Just couldn't let it go, and finally, I realized, like, okay, I'm gonna have to work through this.
Yeah.
I'm getting a message here, like I couldn't just put it aside, and so I dove in and I worked on that. I had help from family. Some of it did involve family. But some of it was it just needed to come out, and
Yeah.
for a lot of people in 2023, that was a big theme. Just for anyone who isn't aware, with the April 8th eclipse this year, it was actually the beginning of 2024 in April. And 2023 was a 7-year numerologically. And that is a year where people are like shedding what no longer serves them. And for the first few months of 2024, which is an 8-year, people like myself were actually processing all of the heavy work they did in 2023. And
That
then
makes sense.
yes. And then with the eclipse that came on April 8th, that most of that was left behind, and we actually ascended into 5D.
That's pretty
The
cool.
entire Earth.
So how do you feel that shadow work and the latest insight on your life is helping you now?
So it's helping me because I am my intuition is more in, is a place where it's coming faster and easier, I guess you could say. I've leveled up. I have recently, I feel, of course, I feel there are some relationships in my life that are better now because of just processing through and doing the work. And in January of this year, I'd like to share a story, if you don't mind,
Oh, yeah.
about an experience that I had. So in January, I was contacted by a quantum hypnosis practitioner like myself, and she and I were going to swap sessions, but then ended up some other practitioners got together with her, and they were going to go and meet up on the Gulf Coast, and so they invited me to come, so I did, and we got together, and we were our intention was to swap sessions with each other and just get to know each other and talk about QHHT, because it's so fascinating. Just the stories are amazing.
And it's nice to be around other people that, you know,
yes,
that are
like we were
connected with
just
that.
soaking that up, it's just, and it's nice to be in person sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
so I ended up having 2 sessions during that time, and we are definitely encouraged to swap sessions with each other and practice during our internship. And so we swapped sessions with each other. So anyway, I was in my first session for that weekend, and suddenly as soon as the hypnosis took, as soon as she started and I laid my hand on the bed, like I was just feeling this energy, like through my whole body. I mean, it was euphoric, and I felt like I was like moving almost. Like it's very hard to describe. It was such a beautiful energy, and I explained that to her, and she's an intern. She's new. She did her best. She wasn't sure exactly what to do. She asked a little bit about the energy. I described it, and then she moved on. And so a little bit later, when we reached the deeper hypnosis portion of the session, she was going through my questions that I brought, which is part of what we do. We encourage our clients to bring questions. And so one of the questions was about the ascension symptoms that I was experiencing with the Earth's moving to 5D. A lot of people like us who are sensitive were struggling with that energy that was coming in. Like we could really feel it. And
Most
at the
definitely.
time, I was getting headaches. Were you also experiencing some of that, Mary?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Between headaches and extreme exhaustion and sadness for really no reason that I could pinpoint. Absolutely.
Right. That sadness, that releasing of what no longer serves us was a big part of it. And so anyway, she was asking about that. That was one of my questions during the SC part, which is the term that Dolores Cannon came up with, 40 years ago, to call our higher self. She didn't know what to call it, and so she called it the subconscious, which so we affectionately refer to it as the SC in QHHT. And so my SC was saying, talking about the upgrade to 5D, and said things are being upgraded. And so she just moved right on. She thought, okay, that the SC's talking about the Earth being upgraded. And so she continued on, and the session ended, and nobody thought anything about it. Well, the next day, I had my second session with a different practitioner, another newbie. And during the SC portion of that session, my SC told me, or told us, I guess you could say, that I received an upgrade. And she asked, well, what kind of upgrade? And just as she asked the question, I could see, many people are very much aware of what's going on. You're just kind of like an observer, because in the background. So my ego self was was aware, and I could see.
Was watching the movie.
Correct. So I could see my entire right arm. I could see the inside of it, and everything inside, the muscles, the ligaments, the bones, the skin, everything was just glowing in the most beautiful hues of blue.
Wow.
And I was thinking, like, this is interesting.
Right.
But I'm also under hypnosis, so I'm not doing too much. You're just observing. It's a really cool state of being. And so I was told at that time that I was given an upgrade for healing, for the healing, energy healing work that I do, and that I could use it. And again, she was also new, so she asked the questions that she asked some good questions. Let me just put it that way. But of course, I woke up wondering, having a million more questions.
Isn't that
I
funny
wanted
how that
all
works?
the answers, and I
Right.
didn't. And so I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And so I came home and I was like, what is this blue light? Like, I had never heard of the blue light. I had heard of the violet flame.
Yeah.
I had experienced seeing different colors, light colors in my mind's eye when I meditated. I know that the chakras have colors associated with them and things like that, but I never heard of the blue light. So I went on a little bit of a quest. The first thing I did was I did a card reading. I have some beautiful decks from Kyle Gray, Keepers of the Light, and Angel cards. And so I did a reading with those, and I got El Moria, Kali Ma, and Archangel Raphael. And El Moria, I looked him up. I read the description about the reading, but I looked him up, and he is one of the keepers of the blue ray of God's will, which is the blue light.
Ooh, I'm getting chills.
and he's one of them. Archangel Michael is also another. The Kali Ma she is actually blue. She's a Hindu goddess, and her skin is blue. And she represents letting go what doesn't serve us, and change.
Well, look at that.
And so Archangel Raphael, as many know, is the divine physician, and his name literally translates to God heals. So here we go. We've got El Moria with the blue light. We've got Kali Ma with all the changes that I'm, the work, the shadow work I've been doing. And then we've got Archangel Raphael with the healing part of it, which is...
Well, that's very clear, isn't it?
It was really cool. Like, the cards never lie. I love doing card readings. They're so fun.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, I continued on a quest to learn about the blue light, and found out there are blue light beings, and I am a blue light being. That is my lineage, I guess you could say. And it also ties in with a past life reading I had 15 years ago, where she told me that I had a life in Atlantis. And that ties in with the drawing, the higher self drawing that you did for me. What do you call them?
Past life portraits is
you
what
did a past
I
life
call
portrait
them.
for me, which was this serpent-looking mermaid sort of being,
Aquatic woman.
aquatic woman. Yes, thank you.
For
And
sure.
so, yeah, like, and it all tied in. And during that second session that weekend, I was shown, sorry, the first session that weekend, she asked, it wasn't one of my questions, but just because we were all practitioners, for fun at the end, she asked if I could, talk about, like one of my more fascinating, past lives. And they showed me my life in Atlantis. I was a serpent. I'm sorry, I was a siren in Atlantis. And I looked very similar to your drawing that you did, but I was able to, like, suddenly, like, I was immersed in that light, like I was feeling what it felt like to be that person, or
That's so cool.
that siren. It was I was a protector. I was like a guard. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
That's a
So
really cool experience.
it is. I mean, that's QHHT for you. It's wild. It's
It's
fascinating.
definitely a wild ride. I love hearing about all of these different experiences that practitioners and their clients have. It's very interesting. It really is. So Nicole, you mentioned earlier you were talking about the 5D and the Earth kind of upgrading and going into 5D. For those that don't know, can you explain the difference between the 3D reality and the 5D reality?
Yes. So the 3D, which is what the Earth has been for many, many years. We've been, I say we, light workers and spirit have been working, for thousands of years to raise the consciousness on Earth. And so 3D consciousness is how we've been living, and it's a material-based reality perceived through the five senses. Whereas 5D consciousness is a state characterized by unity and interconnectedness. And so what that means is, like, more and more people now they are connected together and able to their intuition. So many people are waking up. It's a,
Well,
it's a lighter state of being. Is, um, just like almost like, I almost feel like I'm floating through life now since the eclipse. And I know that sounds so woo woo, but
no, I'm right with you. I'm right with
I
you.
can feel it. And so many people are feeling that. And not just because the earth has moved into 5D, that doesn't mean that everybody's living in 5D. It's just, but it's available to whoever wants to tap into it. It's easier to tap into, let me say that.
Okay. Now I have noticed significant changes as well, and that at that pivotal moment in time, and was also given a lot of information about that upcoming shift and change that we experienced and that we're currently experiencing as we continue through this process, um, living here on Earth within that process. So thank you for explaining your thoughts on that. Um, Now, I'm sure this kind of plays into where people are discovering themselves. And I've heard that many people are also coming to QHHT sessions for healing. And I'm sure that has to do with their opening and their cracking open. So has your experience been, have you been experiencing more people coming to QHHT for healing?
Yeah, well, honestly, Mary, since the beginning of QHHT, Dolores has been having people coming in for healing. I mean, in the very beginning, it was just her. And
Right.
she had a waiting list years long. And then, and she wrote many, many books. But, fast forward to now, there are thousands of QHHTs across the globe, and many people come for healing, physical healing. Let me just say that. I mean, almost everyone's
Wow.
coming for some kind of healing, some kind of struggle or issue they're having, and so that can also be healing. But as far as physical healing, yes, people come for healing, and we've seen, the collective QHHT community has seen so many miraculous healings in these sessions. It's just amazing the things that I hear from my fellow practitioners, and
so
even
cool.
some of the things that I've experienced in my sessions with my own clients have been just so cool and amazing. And I'm talking about things from cancer to bipolar disorder to cartilage being rebuilt around joints,
And you're getting results from that. You're seeing that with your clients.
I haven't seen those particular three things, but I've heard about them, and I've seen like pictures and heard testimonial stories from other QHHT practitioners. We all talk, we have a community. But personally, I have seen emphysema healed in a miraculous way, and it was through a surrogate session.
Oh, can you talk about that?
A surrogate session is warranted when a client is either too young to do a session. It's recommended minimum 16 years or older. Or if someone is too ill, say, to come in for a session, or if they just don't know about QHHT and wouldn't even know to come for a session, but someone in those categories knows comes for a session. And what we do is when we get to the SC portion, which is that deeper state where you're talking to the higher self, the superconscious, we ask permission, because as you know, and as many people know, we have free will, and that is not allowed to be broken. But if you connect with a soul's higher self, then you can ask their higher self for permission. And if they give permission, then it's a go. And so in one of my sessions, I had a young man who had spoken extensively of his father in the interview. And, so I knew he was sick, but he was new to QHHT, so he didn't know to ask us about a surrogate session. So I asked him. And then once we got to the SC portion, we asked if it was appropriate, and it was. And
nice. That's great.
Oh, well, and so I didn't know anything happened. We're encouraged not to keep in touch with our clients, because it's really better for them to be on their own journey, so that it is authentic and they're not feeling like we're leading them in any way. And so just like happened though, months later, I ran into him, and he mentioned his dad. And so his dad was supposed to die in December that year, a few months after his session. Well, this was March. And so he mentioned his dad in a kind of a lighthearted way. And I said, well, how is your dad? And he said, he's doing great. It's like he never had emphysema to begin with. Like he made a complete recovery, and the doctors just don't even understand.
Wow, that makes me emotional. I love this.
Gives me goosebumps, because and not only does the SC heal physically, but they give information as to why a person got sick in the first place, and what needs to be done moving forward. It's very thorough, this process. So it's a wonderful, I'm just so glad to be a part of it. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's, I'm very fascinated with it. And that's part of why, you're here explaining what's going on. I love the QHHT, and I love the stories behind it. I have dug into Dolores's books. Like, I think I'm almost finished with all of them. And so it's such a beautiful journey, and to listen to people's experiences and how they've overcome these very difficult situations, including emotional and physical things that have gone on in their lives, with healing themselves, and with you as a guide, with you all guiding them through these processes. So now, we've mentioned Dolores Cannon a few times here, and so can you talk about her a little bit? And since her, going forward, I know she's no longer with us, and her passing since 2014. Have things changed? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So, things have probably changed a little bit as far as like how the offices run, and maybe how they do their retreats and stuff like that. But as far as the technique, that has not changed. That is perfection. Spirit made sure before Dolores was ready to leave this earth that her technique was solid, and it is. I mean, it is. There's just no need for changing it, and that's what's so beautiful about it. Is it's like once you like take the class and like you learn about, all the things that you're supposed to watch out for, and, with the client, because we keep a good eye on our clients and we want to make sure they're safe during their hypnosis journey. Um,
Yeah.
like, but it's just, if you follow the steps, you will get to the place you need to go every time if you do it correctly. So that's what's nice about it.
That's really cool. And you don't fix something that's not broken, right? So just
Exactly.
just keep going with it. And I'm really, really glad that she was able to bring this technique into the world the way that she did, with her courage as a pioneer of this modality, and to share it with others, to be able to show the power within us, to heal. So it's a very special thing.
It is. And, now that Dolores is on the other side, she's able to help in such a bigger way that
Really?
it's actually, like, of course, like her family and, the QHHT practitioners that knew her personally, I'm sure that they were sad when she passed, but now
Yeah.
that she's on the other side, that lady is working it. I mean, she's busy.
She thought she was traveling before.
Right.
That's funny. Now, have you had any visits from Dolores? Because I know you're a psychic medium as well. Have you had any information from her?
I actually have. It was
Oh,
quite
cool. Tell
shocking.
us about
I
it.
was I was taken aback. Like it was amazing because it was only my 10th session, and I was an intern. I was doing the session swap with another intern, and she is in South Louisiana as well, and she's given me permission to share this part of her story. Um, but she was in a somnambulistic state in her past life, which is where you're just very like immersed in the life, and you're kind of like not aware. Like,
So wait, she was in this in her past life? Or
yes. So
interesting.
yes, so let me explain how that works. So in
Sure.
the first portion of the QHHT session, we take our clients into the lighter state of trance, and it's similar to like, um, when you kind of like zone out, or have like a little mini daydream, or you're driving down the road and you don't remember the last few miles, but obviously
Yeah.
we're driving. That's the lighter state of trance. So everybody goes into that every day. And then once that's where the past life information comes through. It could be past life, it could be current life, like memories, it could be other life. And so once we're finished with that, then we take them into the deeper state of trance, which is when the SC comes through. And we that's when the healing is done, and we get answers to all these questions that they brought and things like that. Well, she was in the lighter state of trance, but she was in a somnambulistic state of trance. So she was very kind of like immersed in that, like not really aware. Like I was telling you earlier, how I was aware of my blue light upgrade, like my arm and everything. Well, she was just like going, her past life character was talking on her behalf, just like going to town. And it was quite interesting. And then suddenly she said, Dolores is here. And I said, really? I was like,
all excited.
I said, does she have a message for us? And she said, so, she kind of paused, and then suddenly here Dolores' message came through just loud and clear, very, very smoothly. It was just such a beautiful experience. And I can tell you what the message was if you.
I would love to hear that.
Okay, I'm going to read it because I want to make sure it's just as it is. Show the light. Teach the people. Not everyone will follow. Teach the people healing, because one day all we will have is self-healing. So the more people you touch just in conversation, the healing will start. It's going to be a mass healing. It's going to be a beautiful thing. There will be imposters. There will be imposters. You've got to know inside. You have to go inside in your own universe to know what is true and what is not true. Your discernment. It will be good. Everyone will get on the same energy frequency, vibing high. Quantum healing is the new way. It will be beneficial in the new earth. The new earth you're all creating inside of you. Your heaven on earth is inside of you.
Wow. That's profound.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And so it actually, at the time when I heard it, I was like, what does that even mean? And then through listen, I listen to podcasts and YouTube, all the spiritual stuff, metaphysical. I'm interested in all that. And different psychics and astrologers and the like have said, now I guess we understand, like the 5D, it's not a place. It's not like everybody's 5D. It's a frequency you can tune into, and it's within you.
Yeah.
So it's very
That's
beautiful.
really cool.
And when she said, show the light, I didn't catch it at first, but months and months later, I realized because I don't know about you, but I usually have heard be the light.
I hear share your light a lot.
And well, for me, I was mostly hearing like just be the light, which I was trying to do, over the last 8 years. And then it just hit me, show the light. Like, oh, she wants us shy people out there, show that light. And I'm like, okay, I'm listening. And so I've been trying to like put myself out there more. I came out of my spiritual closet, really in the fall of last year when I was going through all that stuff. I just couldn't hold it in anymore.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And to those listening, you can too.
You can too. Exactly. And I have to say it's easier at my age, because when you get into your 50s, you just suddenly realize you can't be inauthentic anymore. Like you just don't have the energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've certainly had some interesting experiences so far with your QHHT journey. So now, what inspired you to become a QHHT practitioner in the first place?
Well, That's a good story, Mary. I'm gonna start a little bit back from the exact moment, because I think it's important to tell
Hmm.
give the whole picture to your
Okay.
listeners. Um, so back in 2017, my husband and I, adopted our two nieces whose parents had passed away. So their dad had died in 2009, and their mother had gotten breast cancer not long after that. It was sick, and then she got better, and then she ended up remarrying, and then um, let's just say that guy didn't have the best intentions. And then her cancer came back, and she struggled with that for a little while, and then she ended up passing away in 2016.
Mm.
And so my husband and I filed for custody, because that's what she had asked us to do if anything ever happened to her years back. And so it took us a year. We finally got custody from the stepdad, and we were, rocking and rolling with our new blended family. We had three boys, and the oldest had just moved out. And so we had room, moved the two girls
Yeah.
in. So we now had four children at home. and,
Busy
and we
house.
were, we were doing our thing, trying to not just us as parents, but the kids too. Our boys were amazing and just opening their hearts to their cousins,
How
and
beautiful is that?
it makes me want to cry. And then the girls were amazing. I mean, they had been through so much. I'm not going to go into all their details, but just trust me. I mean, they had been through a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, even just losing two parents is a lot.
Yes.
And so we were doing that. And that actually is what is, going against, I'll just say it, man was a sociopath. Um, that, that was like, I'm a Sagittarius, I'm a fire sign, and I'm nice until you push me too far.
Right.
And then you get the fire.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so my fire came out during that time, and I was like on a quest. I'm like, I just felt like he was a sociopath. No one had told us he was, or anything like that. And so I just started searching and for answers. And that's when I ended up finding the Psychic Teachers podcast way back in the day. And I just dove in. I started listening to that. I thought then came the enlightened empaths, and there's so many more, and then just books and Dolores Cannon, and I just immersed myself in it, like similar to what you did. And um, I just remember, like, here comes 2020 and the pandemic, and it's like, everything that came with that. Well, our youngest son was going off to college. And so in June of that year, we were on a road trip, moving him in. And my husband and I were listening to some Dolores Cannon books. And
Nice.
I just remember thinking at the time, I really want to do that. That sounds so cool. Like, I love her process, but meanwhile, we had our hands full. We
Right.
had all these kids now, and, extra children. And we were both working full time, and it was a pandemic.
Yeah.
There's
A
a lot
little
going
little
on.
bit there. Yep.
Yeah. And so, fast forward to a few months after that, in October of 2020, our middle son had a stroke, an AVM stroke, and a brain bleed, and was in a coma for a week. And that was just a really, it was a very intense time.
I remember, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank
what a
God.
journey.
For me, I had already started on my spiritual path, and it was like my intuition was already sparked. I was learning things even though um, I had taken the class with you. So I had learned how to like tune in and things like that. And I had recently discovered Abraham Hicks and law of attraction. And I was like, just like tuning in, from every single, from the very beginning for him, for his brain bleed, everything was working out perfectly. Like his roommates were supposed to be home. They were all home. He had just moved out of the house a few blocks from the hospital. That was a big fight that I had to like talk my husband into letting him move, even though he really didn't have the money. Like, just let him do this.
That's it.
He was right by the hospital. They got him to the hospital quickly. It was just one thing after another was working out in his
Wow.
favor. And so my intuition kicked in, and I was like, I don't think he's supposed to die. Like, that
Yeah.
just didn't seem right. And then, I'm thinking about the girls, how would they feel if he died?
Yeah.
Not even
That's a
thinking
lot.
about myself, like as much. And just, it was just, it was kind of, it was intense, but it was a magical time.
You
And
navigated
so,
through that so gracefully, I have to tell you. I mean, I remember, communicating with you during that time and as, as a friend and just being a listener of how you were going through this process. And I was just in awe by your calmness, your calm nature. And it makes sense because you were getting this and you knew that this was true. And that says a lot about you and your faith in spirit.
thank you. I appreciate that. People told me that, and it was, I don't know. I didn't really think about it. I was just doing. But you know how
Yeah.
it is when you're in a situation with especially with your kids, you're just kind of like, you go into that mom power mode.
Yes, mom power for sure.
And so anyway, so that happened. And, he ended up coming out of his coma. They were able to do brain surgery. It took 12 hours. Um, we got there, early at like 4:30 in the morning, and the waiting room filled up throughout the day. And then by the end of the time, like, it was just the two of us left. Even the
Wow.
attendant was gone, and nobody was coming out telling us anything, since nine
That's kind
o'clock
of
that
scary.
morning. Yeah, it was crazy. Um, a quick aside, I would like to tell your listeners about your vision during that real quick before I get back to my story, which, because it's part of the story. You shot me a text and said, "Hey," and this is when everybody pretty much had left, so we were just alone in the waiting room. And you said, "I just um, meditated, and I saw I had an experience, a vision, and I'd like to share it with you. Are you interested?" And I jumped on it. Yes, please. I needed something, And
Yeah.
you called me and you told me what you saw, and it was just the coolest thing ever. It was the coolest phone call I had ever gotten. And you said you saw Evan floating above the surgery table with a little girl. We figured out later it must have been one of his spirit guides and some doctors in spirit, and they told you, "Wait, you need to come over here." Like, you were kind of in the way at first when you popped into the
Yeah, they kicked me
scene.
out of the way.
Do you remember it?
I remember some of it because some of these messages they'll come through and I don't remember the whole thing, but I remember seeing him floating above himself. That was one of the things that was kind of stuck in the memory. I had completely forgotten about the little girl.
Yeah. So that was so awesome, and it gave me so much comfort in that time. Like, and of course my husband, because of course I shared with him immediately after. So, you know, that was a gift. It was a real gift that he gave us that day.
I'm glad he I was able to see it. You know, you
Yeah.
never know what you're going to get sometimes, right?
It was awesome. And so anyway, he came out of the surgery and he had therapy and different things. And fast forward to today, he is driving lefty. He drives left-handed. His right side went paralyzed during his COVID. And he has some of it back, but it's still coming back.
Wow,
of course,
that's miraculous.
Yeah. So once he got out of, therapy and he came home and everything, I just remember, suddenly, I was in the zone and spirit, with that little thought back in my head about QHHT that I had the year before. And it never left. And so I put that on my, as one of my goals. I'm gonna take a QHHT class when the time is right. And so fast forward again to in 2021, in August, we had a really terrible hurricane that in our area. I mean, it was just bad. Like, they had to redo all our telephone poles, so we didn't have electricity for a month, and we didn't have internet for 3 months. And we had damage on our home, and the museum that I worked for it was a disaster area. And
wow.
I was already stretched very thin over there, but they put all the reconstruction management on me, even though I asked for it not to. And I just did it. I was so exhausted from taking in 2 extra kids and trying to do my best. Like, that can be exhausting, like, just when you're trying to do your best for years at a time. And then here comes the pandemic, and then this happens to my son, and then hurricane hits. And so instead of standing up for myself at work or just leaving, I just went a zombie. I just went along with it, and I just did it. And I don't even know how it got done, because when you have a disaster of that size, even though extra workers come into the area, it is really still very hard to get them to come to you and
to contact people and get a phone call back.
Then they get there and they start a job, and it's like, oh, this is messed up behind the wall because it's a historical building. You got to fix
this. And they run away.
It was just that. So I was living.
Oh, I see.
I was so stretched thin and so exhausted from all of that. And that was by that time it was the end of 2022. And our oldest niece had moved to Paris a few months before. And so we had a little nest egg going. And I said, you know what? I think we should go to Paris and London for Christmas, so that she doesn't have to spend Christmas alone, and it'll be a great family trip. And so we did. Yeah. So, and that was just magical, being in both of those cities at Christmas time.
Wow, I bet. I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was a great trip. It was awesome. And then when I got back and it was time to go back to work, I felt like I wanted to throw up.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I knew, okay, it's time. It's time. It's finally time. My husband had been telling me, babe, if you don't, quit, you'll find something else. It's fine, or stay home, whatever. He was so supportive. And so I quit. I gave him 4 months notice, and I started. That's
generous.
Exactly. They needed it too.
Yeah.
And I started taking QHHT classes in April of 2023, and the rest is history.
Wow. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you
for following your intuition, for putting the work in, for finding yourself through this process of brokenness, really, and coming out into your own light and being strong. So that's a pretty powerful thing right there.
It is. It's been a journey for sure. And I can't, I mean, now that I'm on this side of it, it's like, it doesn't even seem that big of a deal. Like now, knowing what I know now, of course,
Funny,
hindsight.
isn't it? How that
Yeah.
works.
I could have saved myself so much stress.
Yeah, well, sometimes we need to go through some things to get to where we are, but you did it with grace, and it's a beautiful, beautiful process on the outside, and you're gonna continue to shine your light, like Dolores said. So, Nicole, you went through the certification process to become a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, and that was fairly recent. So, what all has happened since then?
So I I got certified with level 1 first, so obviously, and immediately got started practicing on my husband. He was willing to be my guinea pig for the first session, and but he's very left-brained, and that's something they do teach us about left brain versus right brain. The right brain is the creativity, the spirituality. The left brain is the logic and the ego. So he is a very logical person, but he's also very spiritual. And,
Right.
I'm, again, mentioning Sagittarius, we are very pie in the sky optimists. And so I'm thinking like, I'm going to have a session on him and it's going to be amazing. And he had trouble going under. Yeah. And, I'm thinking like, about Dolores's books. Like, it never occurred to me, of course, she's not putting the struggled sessions, she's putting the
Right.
best of the best for her books. And so I tried several times. I just restarted twice. I made lots of mistakes in the beginning, which is why we had an internship.
Yeah.
And then we agreed it wasn't working. So we came back to it a couple weeks later, tried again. It didn't work. I started crying. I'm like, I did all this for nothing. I'm
Oh gosh.
still here. I'm not going to be able to heal myself.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
just, it was bad. And so, I got another email from the QHHT office that reminding me that I had a free month of the forum, access to the forum. And I said, let me check this forum out. I wish I would have gone there immediately. It was so amazing. I mean, the community of QHHTs are so beautiful. I mean, they're so uplifting and helpful to each other. It's so refreshing to be in that type of community where there's no
Yeah.
pettiness or anything like that. Everyone wants everyone to succeed. It's like they all
I
know
love
about law
that.
of attraction. There's enough for everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I
And
wish more people would focus on that.
correct. Yes. Yes. And so anyway, they gave me some great advice, and I realized he actually was under. I just had it in my mind that it was supposed to look a certain way, and exactly like I thought it would, and but there's lots of ways to tell, and I needed to hear that. So um, we I skipped over him for now, and then I went to Evan, my son, and he agreed. He really didn't want to, but he's like, all right.
All right, Mom.
Yeah. He said he wasn't into all the woo-woo stuff, and so we did a session, and he was also very left brain, very difficult. So again, had to go to the forum, get some advice, and they you know, asked a lot of questions, and we realized like he was under, but um, the ego is a very strong protector. And if someone's been through a trauma or is very left brain and logical and just feels like they have to be in control, um, their ego will try to protect them just for fear of the unknown. And so um, that's what happened in the first two people that I did. And then, so I put them on the back burner, and I just kept going. And I reached out to friends and family and said, this is what I'm doing now. You know, I have to do free
Good for you.
sessions. Do you want anyone to watch session? Well, my beautiful aunt was like, I'll take a session and my husband will do a session. And next thing you know, all her friends want the session. So
That's so great.
yeah. And then of course, if you reach out to other QHHTs or interns, then you've got, you know, free people to do sessions on there. So I got lots and lots of practice. Meanwhile, Melissa, who brought forth Dolores's message, started taking the level 2, and she was telling me, she's like, you know what? There's so really a lot of good information in this level 2. I think you should take it. And so I did, and she was right. It was next level, literally. Yeah, and so it really helped me. And it's a fast forward. I've got, you know, I got all my 25 sessions in, and I'm working on my son again. And so second session, we got a little further. He was able to see a little bit of some past life stuff and current life stuff, but we didn't get to the SC. So put that on the back burner again, kept going, other stuff. And months later, tried again with him and struck gold. We got to the SC, and that's
Hey.
yes. And he was shown very similar scene to what you saw in your vision, which is he was floating above his surgery table with doctors in spirit, and he was given the information that this was part of his soul plan. This was always supposed to happen, which is what I and his dad thought the same thing. But for him to like get that information and to have that inner knowing, because he is intuitive. He's just kind of like a little slow to trying to want to develop it. He's trying to be a young person, and I get that.
Yeah, we've been there.
Right. But you know, he got that good information, and his SC told him that he's got some work to do before he can fully heal. And as we know, as I spoke to you about earlier, we always get the information behind the illness or the condition, is what caused this and what's going on there. And this is his life wake up. He has a plan. He's got work to do in this life, big time. He is a light worker, and he is an intuitive, and his SC wants him to meditate and do the work. And so, and so he's getting there. So we agreed, you know, to come back. And, you know, when the time is right, we'll do another session. And I've been told in 3 different sessions with, you know, of my own through session swaps that I definitely can guide him to full healing through quantum hypnosis. And so I know that this is, he's right where he needs to be right now, and everything's on track. And, you know,
That's
sometimes
great.
that's the best we get from life, you know, and quantum hypnosis even is just, you know, well, you got a little bit of work to do, you know, because spirit can't do it all for you. You have to do what you came here to do.
Yeah, you've got to do the work, and whatever that looks like for you.
Right.
Yeah. How interesting. Well, I'm glad that he was receptive to trying and opening up a bit here and there, and now, you know, these baby steps on processing and moving forward with his own personal journey and healing. So that's what a gift that you can give him, you know, as his mom, and be comfortable with him, or him be comfortable with you, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. So keep on going. I'm rooting for him. I always am.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing that story. Now, Nicole, all these experiences you have, and this really cool gift that you have as a healer through quantum healing. technique and also through your intuition and your own psychic medium abilities, if someone wants to connect with you and know more about your services, where can they contact you? Where can they find you?
So I have a website. It's bijoux.consciousness.com. And that's BIJOUX consciousness.com.
Perfect.
I'm also on social media, but you can find me the links to that on my website. You can find everything you need on the website.
Great. Well, that I know that you've got a lot of people out there that are looking for their path on this, and so we'll send them your way.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Nicole. Thanks for sharing those insights, and it's been a great conversation. And thank you to our listeners for joining us, and we appreciate you. Till next time.